What's going on, YouTube world? Welcome back to Little Bit Man Gaming, bringing you another review. This time for The Flash Season 7, Episode Dose, um, called The Speed of Thought. Which, if you don't know, that's a little homage to The Thinker. I think that was Season 4's villain. But yeah, but first things first, I always got to do this. First things first, if you could hit that like, subscribe, share, and the notification button, and also leave a comment down below what you thought of yesterday's episode of The Flash. Let me know. That's to have the discussion. What did you think of the ending? What you think of the little cliffhanger they had? What did you think of the whole episode as a whole? Let me know in the comments down below. We could talk about it, debate about it. We could do whatever you want to do in the comments down below. For those who are subscribed, thank you, appreciate you, love you, appreciate it. I can't even stress how much I appreciate it because the channel is growing. I see it, and I appreciate you. All I need you to do is just continue to like, share, and watch. And those who are not subscribed or those who are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Go ahead, join the family that's become this one big YouTube family, and let's make this thing grow into a massive empire. Because you know what, my whole mission with this is to not only just grow this into an empire, but then use it to help other people grow their empires. But it always got to start somewhere, right? So that's why I need those who are not subscribed to hit that subscribe button. Go ahead, push it right now, or it'll be a prompt at the end to push it too. But yes, go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, and share, and the notification button. Do it and become part of the family. With that being said, let's get into it. I just got to move the camera just a little bit. Oh, I think I moved it a little bit too close. All right. As I always do, here go a little synopsis before we get into the episode. When Barry suddenly gains the power of speed thinking, he attempts to use his new gift to save Iris. Cisco is hesitant to trust Barry's new power. Eva must face a shattering truth. So, what they are talking about is, if you haven't seen last week's episode, skip maybe 2-3 minutes ahead if you don't want to hear what I'm about to say, or better yet, go watch last week's episode, then watch the review I did for that episode, and then come back to this video so you can get the full discussion about it. But with that being said, you're being forewarned because I'm about to say what they mean by that. Barry's new power is that he has speed thinking, right? He has the speed of thought. And what that means is he's like almost like Clifford DeVoe. I had to clean my glasses a little bit. But yeah, he's almost like Clifford DeVoe in the fact that now his mind is just as fast as his, running. And so now, in the episode when we first witnessed this is when Cisco is trying to explain the problem with the portal to the Mirrorverse. The portal is what they need, but they still don't have like the little materials they need to stabilize the portal so that people could pass through. And what they, like how Eva used Ramsey's blood to stabilize the portal so that people could pass through without harm. They don't have the material. They don't have needed to stable. I think there was a component they needed to stabilize it, and the materials needed to use to let people come through. So when but when Cisco was getting ready to write it, all he did was like put the pen to the board, and all of a sudden Barry's mind, he just saw Cisco in fast motion writing it down and explaining things. And then Barry started. He said what Cisco was going to say, what Cisco was going to say to him, and explaining by writing down the board. And and Cisco looks at him like, "Yeah, that's what I was about to say." He said, how did you know that? He said, you just wrote it down. He said, I haven't written down anything. And then it's revealed that Cisco still haven't written down anything what actually happened was soon as Cisco put his hand to the board, Barry saw everything and started saying it to Cisco. It was just, he went like this, and Barry just said everything he was about to say. But to Barry, he saw Cisco put the took the pen to the board and wrote everything down and just repeated it. But Cisco still hadn't done it yet. So then Cisco was explaining the other half of the problem, and Barry once again did it, and to the point where it was freaking them out, and it was freaking them out, and then they eventually ran some tests on Barry to find out that his synapses in his brain and stuff is firing like, I think Cisco said like 100 times faster than they normally should, or it was something to that effect, and that he was getting and that it was making him think faster, and and that's when they revealed that he had speed thinking. Like he could basically he could see ahead. He could, if you see or give him a problem, he could see ahead to its conclusion before the problem even occurs. Like, and for instance, Cisco introduced like this next generation tech like ball. I guess that's supposed to be some type of he said he's trademarked. I forgot what he said he was trademarking, but he kept saying trademark pending. But it was a ball that it was basically unpredictable, and that is hard. It'll be the next thing in combat sports or sports. He said something like that, and that it's hard to predict because the ball basically goes all these different ways, and you can't really predict where it was going unless you know it ahead of time. But it was a perfect opportunity to test Barry's speed thinking. They had, Barry saw the outcome. Then they told, and he was supposed to stand there to catch it, but then they told him to turn around. So he turned around and held his hand up like this. But it was when Barry used his speed thing, he already saw himself turned around going like that, so he knew to turn around like that. So they threw the ball, and the ball bounced everywhere, hitting everything in the speed lab, and Barry was predicting. He started predicting exactly where it was going to go. Then he said duck. They was like duck, and he said duck now. And then they had the duck because it was coming right before their heads, and it went right. It bounced off the wall right, almost missing their heads, missing Cisco's and Allegra's head right into Barry's hand. So now Barry has the power of speed thinking, but there's a caveat to it. It's a reason why he got this new power. And it has to do with the artificial speed force. And we learned that as the episode goes on, Barry starts talking more like a computer. The first hint of something being wrong was when when Barry solved the equation and how to get into after he grabbed it, he tells them, I know how to get Iris and everybody out of the Speed Force, out of the Mirrorverse, and he knows how to fix the problems. So then he uses speed and speed thinking at the same time and write down what the problem and what was needed. And even when Cisco was about to say, well, no, and then he stops because right before he said, what about this, the quantum effect or whatever he was about to say, he realized that Barry had already solved it. So he's like, actually, that can't work, and that actually fixed the problem. But the problem was that they still needed the particles to help people come through without being harmed. And they realized that when Eva came through the mirror, she had these particles on them. And she had these particles on her, and that they realized that the particles never dissipate or disappear, that they just latch on to the person that, like for in her case, came through the portal. And that's what happened. They end up figuring out that the particles that they need is actually on Eva. And Barry, he uses speed thinking to calculate that she was going with black hole black hole warehouse that has more of the mirror technology and Carver's illegal black hole technology store, that he predicted that this was like the 98% likelihood that she would be at this one. and that so they end up went in there and he called in for some extra help, and he ended up this would be the return of Caitlin / Killer Frost. Though originally she was supposed to be gone for a whole bunch of episodes, because when she left at the end in the last season, it was supposed to be she was supposed to be gone for the rest of the season. I don't think she was supposed to return until this season, but thanks to the pandemic and the shift of everything, it just seemed like I think it was only in terms of the show, she was only gone like 2 episodes. And we all know she was gone. The reason why they had to write her off the show is because she, in real life, Danielle Panabaker had a baby. So that's why she was written off. But she was supposed to be. She was supposed to be gone. We were supposed to be like, oh man, finally, for it's been so long since we've seen her. But in terms of the episode, if you watching season 6 and then you watch these first 2 episodes, it's gonna be like, oh, she was only gone for like 2 episodes. But it was technically supposed to be multiple episodes, but she was only, due to her pregnancy, but she was only gone. I think they said she might have even been gone a little bit during this season. But because of how the pandemic shaped out and when she had her baby, by the time it was time to film for season 7, she was able to come back. But that was a little side story. I got sidetracked. But yeah, Caitlin / Killer Frost is back. And they went to the warehouse as Eva is basically, she shot her little hand cannon beam at people. She at the black hole mercenaries and guards. As she was getting ready to destroy the technology that her husband made using her tech. Barry showed up, and she says, "Who's the Phantom now, Carver?" And that gave Barry an idea that we'll get into later on. But the set that idea up, I forgot to mention that the episode did start off with Eva. It started off with Eva in her chair, still contemplating on what she saw from last week, which was that last week she was a duplicate. She realized that that she really was a phantom, because she thought that Carver was just being a dick to her. I should have said spoiler if you haven't seen it. This the part that was spoiled, the ending of the last episode, which was that Eva found out that she wasn't the real Eva McCulloch, that she's actually a mirror clone. And the way how that happened was, apparently when the particle accelerator exploded, how we always been seeing it up until this point was that when it exploded, she flew through the mirror into the mirrorverse. But in reality, what really happened was when the particle accelerator exploded and knocked her into the mirror, instead of showing her going through the mirror, what really went through the mirror, it's something that did go through the mirror, but it really wasn't Eva. The real Eva basically hit the mirror and fell down and died. She instantly died. And but something did go through the mirror, because we got an Eva McCulloch, and it looked like her. I want to say, in my thought process, let me know in the comments if you think otherwise, but I think it was like her soul. I guess her soul was knocked into the particle accelerator, knocked her soul into the mirrorverse, and she became, instead of becoming like a soul or a spirit, it was like she was actually given a whole new body. But as the mirror clones, the glass clones or mirror clones, and she realized that that's what happened to her. So in this episode, she's still reeling from that. That's the whole little snide about who's the Phantom now, Carver. She's still reeling from the fact that she is not the real Eva McCulloch, that the real Eva McCulloch died, and that she's just a mirror version of herself. She was basically I think she died. The reason why she died so instantly, because like I said, her soul was knocked out into the mirrorverse, but since she gained the particle accelerator, gave her mirror powers along with the mirrorverse, she basically was able to make herself into a mirror clone, but she didn't realize she did that until she saw that video, and she realized she's a mirror clone. And that would give Barry an idea. And at this point, Barry would use his super speed. Now I'm jumping back to the warehouse scene. Barry would use his super speed, use it to grab the particles, and and then we get back to Cisco as the little tachyon enhancer was charged up with the particles. Barry, I want to say Barry, like hesitated, and like it's like he was, because Caitlyn was in trouble. And it was like she told, Cisco was like, Barry, go, like go help her, and he was going to, but then he hesitated, and because I guess he read the probability that if he would have went to go help her, the tachyon with the particles would have been damaged, and he wouldn't have been able to, he would have able to sacrifice that with the host and helping her, but he knew that he could save her. He knew that whatever would happen to him, he would be able to find a cure to save her and bring her back. So in essence, he just stopped and allowed her to be attacked. And this is when it started to get worse. That Barry is not really being Barry anymore, because he's starting to act more like a computer and not Barry. He's acting emotionless. And when they realized something was off about him, they ran a test and found out that the artificial speed force had a little hiccup, which is an actual big hiccup. But it had, the hiccup was that although they created, or I guess the way how he explained it was, when Thawne created the negative speed force, the negative was it, I guess, the negative artificial speed force, or just the negative speed force. But when he created the negative speed force, he used, as it applies, negative emotions to control it. But Cisco revealed that since they tried to take emotion out of their equation, they tried to create their speed force without the use of emotion of happy, negative, sad, angry, whatever, that it had the opposite effect. Instead of just giving him his speed and new powers, it was also taking away his emotions, because they built it without emotion. So it gave him his speed back, and it gave him the speed thinking, but now it was taking his emotions. It was like the more he used the speed power, his super speed and the speed thinking, the more he would become emotionless. Like he would just be more like a computer. He even started talking. The more and more the episode went, he started talking more and more like a computer. He didn't even sound like Barry. He just sounded like a computer. He was just talking like the probability. They'll probably be in the high poosiness and the high coosiness. Just a little joke there, but yeah, it was like he was talking basically like a supercomputer, like almost like Gideon. He said, "I counted the probability that Caitlyn, that Frost would get hurt, but that I knew that I could fix her." He was like, "But that's your friend. You allowed her to get hurt." He said, "I knew that whatever would happen to her, I could reduce it with a cure." And he stuck her with a cure, but Cisco didn't think it would work. But then that's when Cisco started doubting everything. But then it broke down to the fact that they figured out that that Barry's emotions was gone. And Cisco tried to talk to him and tried to tell him that they need to shut down the artificial speed force because it's messing with his brain, and that they'll figure it out. They'll figure everything out like they always do, but that they can't allow him to continue like that, because they'll Cisco's like, "Don't do this to yourself. I understand that the NASA's death and the death of all the other whales and the people we lost is weighed on you, because you feel like all the villains and keep using your emotions against you to trick you." Because this was another part that was another theme of this episode, was that he felt like all the villains was taking advantage of his emotions. Like he was tricked by Eva because she used his love for Iris to blind him to the fact that wasn't the real Iris, or that it wasn't the real Sing, or or how he used Camilla, how she used Camilla to trick Cisco, and like he was upset that that they used this, and he already had figured out, thanks to his speed, thinking that what was going on with him was that the emotionless part of this artificial speed force was taking away his emotions, and he said it was I was better this way because I could work more efficient and it don't have to be, it had to act with emotion. And Cisco ended up finding out that it was this all happened while Barry was in his costume, because we found out that Barry had had found out there was a flaw in his plan. It wasn't enough. They didn't have enough particles to get everybody through the portal, and that the portal itself they only have enough to get one person through, or they could get two people through, but they couldn't get all three. Basically, if they wanted to get two people through, it was enough to get Camilla and Captain Singh through, or it was just enough to get Iris through. Because they said because if Iris to come through, it would take all the particles and stuff they gathered to get her out. But if they could take Camilla and Singh out, it wouldn't be enough particles to get Iris out. And they knew, the real Barry would have knew that Iris would have wanted to say Camilla and them first over herself. But Barry, being not like an emotionless computer, he's seeing the probability that he knew that to defeat Eva. I guess his super thinking, his super intelligence was telling him that the likelihood that they need to get Iris out more than Camilla and Captain Singh, because she been Mirrorverse longer, which means she know more about Eva than the team does, and that means she should be the one they get out. But they didn't agree with that because he couldn't. They said, they arguing with him saying he can't predict emotion. And this is all sparked by the fact that Cisco found out that Barry had made the choice ahead of time to go and get Iris out, because he ran the probability in his head that if they had a debate about it, he would be the only one to vote for Iris, and everybody else would vote for Camilla and Singh, because they know that's what Iris would have wanted. And we found out too that the people who get zapped by the mirror gun and sent to the Mirrorverse, have a different version of that, the neurogenesis, or whatever, however they say it in the show, that the stuff that messes with your mind by being in the Mirrorverse too long. The people who got zapped with the mirror gun is they pretty much are in a worse state of mind than the people who Eva just pulls in. So there's a big fight. I won't get into details about the fight because that fight seems cool. You need to go see it for yourself, so check out the episode. But it was a big cool fight with somebody unexpectedly getting speed powers to fight Barry, and then the episode ends with Barry in somehow, some way getting Iris out of the Speed Force. I don't want to spoil too much, but Iris does get out of the Speed Force this episode, and then there's a very, very, very good cliffhanger at the end of this episode. That's we're gonna get to see a character. We're gonna get to see a character for the first time, as this character is an Earth 1 character that was killed at the beginning or a little bit before the first episode of the first season. Like, this happened before the very first episode of the series. This character was killed, and we found out that this character was killed and was replaced by a duplicate. But now we get to see this character for the first time as the actual character, not somebody pretending to be this character. But that's all I got. If I had to give this episode, I would give it I'll give it a solid 8 big ups, because it was a good episode. It kept me entertained, it kept me intrigued, and it kept me like, holy crap, Barry, what's going on with you? But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. And yeah, if you could do me a favor and hit this, you see how I had to go camera. Hit this button right here for more reviews, because I got tons of reviews and you might enjoy them. Hit this button right here to subscribe to my channel. Please do it. Please. Look at his face. Please. And hit any other of these other videos for more content that I have on my video that help you entertain and keep you busy throughout your day. to the next one, which I will be right back with another review. Peace.